The end of the world is coming, with howling blizzards, as I huddle in my self-built villa in the countryside, enjoying lamb hot pot. When my ex-wife and her lover shiver together, gnawing on stale bread in desperation, self-comforting ourselves, believing that wealth can buy everything, I recall scenes from my past life, where she killed me with an axe. First, let's buy our own lives with money. I reincarnated and coincidentally encountered Susan clamoring for divorce. I suppressed my raging resentment and agreed instantly. I didn't expect to suddenly let go, bewildered, questioning repeatedly if she really agreed to divorce. Don't play tricks anymore. I glanced at the time. There's only one day until the disaster strikes. Now, let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau immediately. On the way, seeing everyone around, looking pleased with themselves, unable to hide the spring in their eyes, I try hard to restrain the urge to kill him. As hunger and cold intensify, he picks up an axe and charges at me. The intense pain feels like it's still lingering on my skull. This life, I will make her pay with her blood. During the property division, I only asked for all the savings in the house, totaling $1 million, and a car. Susan readily agrees, then tries to take credit, saying, "See, I treated you well. Now, I'm leaving with nothing." I smile mockingly, pretending not to know. Wasn't the house left to you? She thought I didn't know she won $1 billion in the lottery, and wanted to force me out before claiming it all. In my past life, I was unaware, still deluding myself about salvaging the relationship. It wasn't until she returned home with her lover that I realized the good wife I thought I had was long having an affair. As the disaster approaches, blizzards rage on. The three of us huddle in the same attic, with limited supplies. Not only did they take my only bread, but they also forced me out into the freezing weather to scavenge for supplies. But I refused to yield, and in the argument, I grabbed the axe and struck fiercely. As consciousness fades, I see those two demons' eyes gleaming with greed. Hurry, this is fresh meat. I didn't want a house either. City buildings are not only useless during the apocalypse, but also attract attacks from neighbors. Let that place become Susan's coffin. I submitted the divorce papers. I hurriedly drove back home. Halfway through packing, Susan returns. Seeing her barely concealed joy, I guess she got her hands on the $1 billion prize. But I ignore her, continuing to sort through my clothes, especially the thick winter clothing. Goodbye, chicken. Take your trash and go back to your countryside. As soon as Susan leaves, I frantically rummaged through the boxes. She took all her winter clothes. Just like in my past life, she went to Sonia with her lover. When they returned, they encountered extreme cold weather. Their thin clothes made them shiver as soon as they stepped off the plane. Their irritation from the cold was directed at me, who almost got delayed due to catching a cold from temperature changes. What a waste. Even driving a car, they wouldn't pass by the kitchen to tidy up. It was during one of these cleanups that I inadvertently caught sight of a familiar axe, originally used to chop large bones. It became the weapon that led to my demise in a previous life. After gazing at it for a moment, I casually took it out and placed it on the table. Finally, after surveying the seemingly unchanged but actually empty house, I installed real-time monitors and several key hidden locations. With everything taken care of, I drove back to the rural outskirts of the city where my parents lived. Upon seeing my parents, tears immediately welled up in my eyes. In my previous life, when the power and internet were cut off, I couldn't even contact them for a final farewell. I didn't know if they had survived the disaster. Seeing me cry, they panicked and quickly asked what was wrong. After hesitating for a while, I decided to tell them everything, including the disaster and my anger upon being reborn. Tears welled up in my mother's eyes, while my father lit a cigarette and angrily saying, "This is not the time for this nonsense. We need to quickly renovate the house and stock up on food and supplies." He stubbed out his cigarette decisively and said, "Whatever needs to be done, let's do it." To improve the stability of the house, I called in a construction team to reinforce the entire building. We also installed double-layered insulated windows and replaced all of them with the strongest triple-layer glass. A huge solar panel was installed on the roof to cover the entire roof tightly. In case of a power outage, we could live off the grid with our own electricity, but we still needed a source of heat. We also need a source of heat that nowadays, rural areas rely on gas heating. But if the gas supply is cut off, the radiators will become icy cold and will still feel the chill. I rummaged through the warehouse and found an old stove that had been replaced long ago. This type of stove generates heat by burning coal. This is how we spent our winters when I was a child. But this stove, unused for so long, was covered in rust and dust. Seeing my dilemma, my dad laughed heartily and asked what was wrong. "You can't even buy coal anymore," he said. "Even if this stove works, we have no coal to burn," he added. "I'll go buy you a good one," he said. Later that day, my dad returned with a small truck. On it were brand new pellet stoves and hundreds of bags of pellet fuel. Pellet stoves can heat water and cook food. The fuel is durable, environmentally friendly, and safe. I placed one in each of the 2 bedrooms and the living room on the 2nd floor. I put the remaining 2 on the 3rd floor. I stored more fuel on the ground floor. If the snow piles up to a meter, the ground floor will be completely uninhabitable, so I used it as a storage room. By the time the workers finished installing the flue, it was already late at night. We hastily finished dinner and went to bed to rest up for the battle ahead tomorrow. The next day, we split into 3 groups. My dad went to the nearby market to buy freshly butchered pork, lamb, beef, chicken, and duck. I drove to the supermarket to purchase consumables, daily necessities, and fast food. My mom stayed at home to harvest fruits and vegetables from the garden. It was the harvest season for fruits and vegetables, and she made quite a good haul. At the supermarket, I first bought several soft and warm down comforters, electric blankets, long down jackets with the highest fill, and the most expensive and lightweight warm clothing. Then, I bought tissues, disinfectant, and daily necessities. I loaded these items into the shopping cart one box at a time, with a long shelf life. Stocking up on more won't go to waste. I also bought plenty of vegetarian options, just in case we couldn't make a fire. These items could still keep us full. On the way out of the supermarket, we passed by a labor protection store and went in again. We bought military coats, waterproof rain boots, down waterproof gloves, and cotton-padded masks. According to my prediction, if we successfully endure the natural disaster, the weather will become even colder. During that period, we will still need to manually remove a large amount of accumulated snow, melt it, and manage drainage. All of these tasks will require my SUV, which doesn't have a large capacity. It took 3 trips back and forth to bring all the items back home. My dad also bought a lot of meat, in addition to pork, lamb, beef, chicken, and duck meat. There were also various bones, fish, live shrimp, and crabs. It was the prime season. He also bought boxes and rented a commercial freezer to store the meat. Although the ground floor, where there is no heater, turns into a natural freezer during the blizzard due to extreme cold weather. In these days, we still need the freezer to store the meat. After finishing the outdoor shopping, we began to help Mom pick fruits and vegetables. My dad took advantage of this opportunity to wholesale a bunch of seasonings, oil, rice, and flour. He also loaded them into the car and brought them back.